There's nothing so painful to the human mind as great and sudden change. Earlier this week, I finished Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This was the book we read for my classics that I'm hosting on Fable. Read That Classics, links in the bio. And what a wonderful novel. This is the second time I've read this book, and I did not appreciate it the first time, but this time I've really come around on it. I read this back in 2024, and while I was interested in this novel, I also found it really deeply depressing, and it was hard for me to finish, and when I did finish it, I was just like, all right, that wasn't for me. But this time, I don't know if I'm in a better headspace, or I just appreciate, classics more, or whatever, but this really worked, and, everyone's given her flowers who's read this book, but Mary Shelley, wow. She wrote this when she was 18, guys. She wrote this when she was 18, basically on a dare, and it is, in my opinion, one of the most important novels in the Western canon. This is absolutely fantastic. It is one of the foundational novels for science fiction. It is one of the most popular Gothic novels of all time, and it's been the inspiration for probably hundreds of adaptations by now, whether that be kids' cartoons or horror movies or other novels. Frankenstein is absolutely massive, and it's still culturally relevant 200 plus years later. And I think the reason that it is still so culturally relevant is because there is a part of it that can just speak to the human just experience. There is obviously so many good things about this novel. The plot here, I think, is fantastic. Victor Frankenstein attempting to create this new life, and it coming back around and seeking revenge on him because he abandoned it and didn't bend to its wishes. Fantastic. I think the character work here is really great. Victor Frankenstein is an extraordinarily well-written character, in my opinion. His entire plight, this entire thing that he goes through in this novel, I am very divided on Victor Frankenstein, because he is a man I both feel incredible sympathy for, and I also detest, because at every opportunity he makes the wrong decision, and he goes with something that is more egotistical than the actual right choice. And of course, on the other side of this entire dynamic is the fiend, the creature, the wretch, whatever you want to call him. It's the monster. And the monster, again, I'm divided on, because I feel so bad for it, and at the exact same time it makes so many decisions that are a reactionary result to how it's treated, and it makes sense, and it's just such a deeply human story. That is really what Frankenstein is all about. It's so interesting that over the years we have focused on the appearance of the monster not being able to, maybe talk, or its hideous appearance, or how frightening it is. But Frankenstein as a novel isn't about any of that. Frankenstein is all about the human condition, and the two of the experiences humans can really go through. On one hand, we have Victor Frankenstein, right? And this is all where the themes come in, and this is really where the novel shines, is the themes and the writing. Is this. Victor Frankenstein represents the half of humanity that is hubris bound. We as a species are very egotistical. We believe ourselves to often be better than nature. We have overcome it, right? We are the most dominant species on Earth. It's not even close. We have been the most dominant species on Earth for 200,000 years, roughly, and we have just been crushing it, right? And we've done so many amazing things, from harnessing fire to the invention of the wheel, to gunpowder, to modern medicine, to the nuclear bomb, and all of these other wonderful things, or horrible things, right? And yet, there are so many points in both our individual lives and as a species where we, instead of doing the right thing or doing the smart thing, we do the thing that, our ego wants us to do. We are driven by hubris to try and become like God, try and become the new Adam, try and become the new Prometheus, right? The modern Prometheus. And every time we do it, there is a massive backlash to the things we created. the best example in modern society is the nuclear bomb from Oppenheimer, right? It was this whole invention to end the Second World War. This whole idea that if we invent a weapon powerful enough, war will no longer exist. And yet, the result is that war has continued. War is arguably worse than ever because there is always that threat of nuclear armament, of nuclear destruction, of this idea that at any second a maniac, someone who is irresponsible, could hit a button on a counter and that would be it for human civilization as we understand it, and perhaps human civilization ever again. It's just how we humans are. We love to think that we are the masters of our destiny, that we are always totally in control, and yet sometimes the things we create come back to bite us. And then there's the other side of the argument, the other part of the human experience seen through the creature, seen through the monster. This idea that we as humans are not only hubris bound, egotistically driven, but also incredibly prejudiced and tribalistic. We have this great ability to accept one another, but we also have a great ability to hate one another. We see it in our modern politics all the time. It is not hard to see if you live in the United States, especially. This idea of tribalism and individuality overcoming common good. The creature experiences throughout its life extreme prejudice for its appearance, for its foreignness, for being a wretch, for being a being outside of typical human society. And that is just a reflection of the kind of prejudice that we harbor towards one another. There are so many people in our modern society that we attempt to alienate simply because they came from a different country, simply because they have different religious beliefs, simply because we don't like what they bring to the table. We want it our way. We want our tribe to win. And instead of attempting to be accepting, instead of attempting to allow assimilation or allow different cultural experiences to flourish and thrive, we say, no, we have to hate you. We have to hunt you. We have to kill you. You are a monster. You're a fiend. You're a wretch. You're lesser. And it's amazing what Mary Shelley is really able to capture in this novel. And what's really fascinating to me is how beautifully written it is. There is this constant tension between the gothic tone and the romantic language in this novel that really just captures your attention. It is a deeply depressing novel. It is also deeply philosophical. There is a lot of internal musings, a lot of, societal kind of like just tension here. There's a lot of things I think Mary Shelley was criticizing about both her time and just humanity in general, and it just makes for a really, really powerful and wonderfully written novel. It is one of the great classics, in my opinion. It's one I think everyone should attempt to read, both for its influence on Western society, horror, and science fiction, and also because of how prevalent it is to our modern society. I think there are a lot of things in here that you will recognize happening both in America and around the world. Both hubris and prejudice, both the great parts of the human experience and the worst parts of the human experience are on full display in Frankenstein. And because of that, I think it's one of the best classics I have ever read. 8.8 out of 10. Frankenstein is absolutely amazing, and if you haven't read it, you absolutely should.